Okay, kids, it's time for another episode of the Fueled by Weird podcast, the only podcast where in the Southtown, you know that kid don't play, put it down in the streets, will I see another day? I'm Chris Daly, and today I'd like to welcome Joshua Eadie and Will Smith to the show. Guys, how's it going?
Going great.
I'm feeling
Excited.
pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, usually I like to kind of customize my intros a little bit if I can, and with the Southtown, I had to, play off POD a little bit just because,
Hell yes.
you
Oh yeah,
know,
Hell yes.
I
I had
had
a
to
I had
do
a
it.
guy at a convention sing that at me. He
I
didn't stop and
That's
talk. He just
awesome.
walked by and like,
mean, hey man, welcome to hard times. Back again like it's never before the first time.
There you go. I had another intro picked up, but I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna get another chance to use this one, so I have to.
Got
kind of
to.
it's
Got
kind of
to. Bullet to
fitting,
blue sky.
Right?
like since my name is Will Smith, I literally grew up with a theme song, um,
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
attributed to somebody else, but everybody knew it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
That's fantastic.
just keeping it going in my professional life.
we're
There you
all out here
go.
getting jiggy with it.
There you
hmm
go. No, no,
hmm
no. All right, gentlemen. So summertime is almost here. We're getting really close. It's still not quite there yet, but we can it's right on the cusp. What do you guys have big plans for this summer?
Well, um, uh, as far as the comics concerned, we have an extremely exciting thing in that issue 3 is looking like it's going to be coming out around the end of the summer.
Oh yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, we've got the third issue Kickstarter is in pre-launch right now, so we're just kind of amassing followers over the next month and change. Hoping to get that off the ground early July. At which point, as far as like the artwork is doing, so I picked up all the line artwork and coloring, um, whereas we had a color artist and a team before they all kind of got really busy. So I took that all on. So, but as far as my progress goes, we're hoping to have that third issue done and ready to print by the end of summer. So like
Nice.
August.
When it comes to stuff other than comics, do you guys have anything other than that planned? Like anything that you got coming up?
I am really excited about some uh, D&D campaigns I've been running because
Yeah,
yeah, so I have to be creating at all times.
sure.
And uh, I had I have a bluegrass band that has been a little bit on hiatus because carpal tunnel makes it uh, difficult to play guitar,
Sure.
um, especially in a band that usually is playing 3 and 4 hour gigs. So uh, when I haven't been performing as often, I have been, writing on the comic constantly or uh, whatever other creative outlets, and my biggest one has been D&D. So I am DMing 3 different campaigns right now, and I'm playing in
Wow.
3 different campaigns.
That's
So
awesome. You can't have a
yeah,
beard like that and not be like a majestical DM. That's fantastic.
yeah, I absolutely. My favorite part of DMing right now is uh, is doing voices for my characters because I can't do accents.
Okay.
I'm really, really horrible at accents, and so my idea when I go into creating a new NPC for for my players is to choose an accent that I know I can't do, and then just see what comes out, and that is it. Now a unique fantasy character voice.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the best. That's the best kind of voice is when you can't do an accent. It's like,
Oh yeah,
well, there's automatically a D&D voice waiting to happen right there. And all you gotta do is
exactly.
change the pitch, and you got a couple different voices right there.
Absolutely. It's like, what are you guys talking about? That wasn't supposed to be Scottish.
That's awesome. Yeah, I D&D is something I've wanted to get back into like a whole bunch, but around where I am, everybody wants to play and nobody wants to DM, and that's the hard part.
It's yeah, honestly, uh I highly recommend for anyone who's considering starting DMing, go ahead and get one of the adventure modules and run something straight out of there so you can kind of see how it flows, get used to that, and then start homebrewing after you've kind of like learned the basics. but it's like DMing. Like I was very much like I was playing for like 6 or 7 years before I ever decided to try DMing, and now I enjoy both equally.
Nice.
Because it's like, in playing, I get to engage with someone else's work and I get to like be a hero in their story. Uh, and when I'm DMing, I get to be 3,200 different heroes and villains and random shopkeepers and Boblin the Goblin and everybody else.
That's awesome.
So
Will, what
for
about you,
someone
man?
who, yeah,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry. Sorry, go
Oh, no,
ahead.
I was gonna say for someone who needs to constantly be creating something,
Yeah,
you know, DMing is a great way to do it.
very cool. Will, what do you got going on this summer, man?
Oh man. So in 2 days, I actually just recently got engaged a couple months
Nice.
ago.
Congrats,
So
man.
thank you. And so we are taking a train up to Massachusetts because my niece is graduating from college, which is
Nice.
wild. So meeting up with some family up there for the week, and we decided this summer we are pretty much going to stay in, not going to do any big travel plans, but we're definitely both taking about 2 weeks off of work just to kind of like chill and hang and that kind of thing. But
Staycation. That's awesome, man.
yeah, doing the staycation thing. I've got a handful of concerts to go to. Actually, last night in Richmond, I was seeing Pet Symmetry.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
it's super cool. I dropped a couple of copies of the comic on them, and one of the guys was actively reading it on stage while he wasn't playing keyboards.
That's
So that
awesome.
was pretty fun. Gonna check out Hot Water Music is playing in town in July, and then we're gonna go to Philly to see Lord Huron at the end of the summer. So
Nice.
yeah, keeping it
Nice.
pretty chill. Other than doing comic book artwork, I've taken on a couple commissions for some wine labels, for a local company. So
Rad.
yeah, just keeping busy, doing the thing.
Very cool, man. You know,
I'm
sometimes,
turning 45 this year, so it's pretty chill.
dude, I get it. I just turned 40 last year, and like everyone's like, you got to do something big and extravagant. It's like, I don't want to. I'm getting too old for that shit. I just have to just I don't like going out very much because all my stuff's at home. So why would I want to leave the house? So
Yeah.
like give me a pizza or some Chinese food, let me play some video games or like just hang out with my family. Like that's a celebration for me, man. I'm super set with that,
Amen to that.
Yep.
Amen to
right?
that.
And like my wife and I just celebrated 20 years being married and you think
Awesome.
that
Congratulations.
thanks, man. So everyone's like you got to do this like big extravagant celebration because you've been married for 20 years, but it's like we've got two kids a very, very different age range. Like I said, my oldest is almost 18, my youngest is almost 10. And we don't have a lot of family we could leave them with, so we can't really like go on like a big trip. Plus, we've got a dog that we really can't leave anywhere. So,
Hmm.
we're excited, later, maybe for 40 years we'll go do some big trip. We know the kids are older and whatever. But this year we decided to kind of just there's a lot of we live in kind of a small town and we decided there's a lot of things we've talked about wanting to do but just have never gone and done or stuff that we have done maybe 10 plus years ago that we've just never gone back and done again. So I took I a half a week off work, and while the kids were at school we just went out and did all these things that we've always talked about doing. Like there's a there's a museum of people's collections that's always sounded kind of awesome, so we went to that and it was incredibly awesome. Like you just have this whole place just full of just people who have passed away or people who no longer want the collection. They just donate it to this place. You can just go see it. It's all sorts of different things that they've got there, ranging from like money and dolls and like they have a room dedicated to Elvis, one dedicated to Barbie. They've got World War whatever memorabilia. It's some really, really cool stuff they've got there. And some stuff that's one of a kind that's located nowhere else in the world they've got there. And it's pretty cool. And we
That's
just
rad.
we went to the driving range one day just because we haven't been in like a decade and just for fun. And it was really cool just kind of just hanging out and being super chill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sounds like the estate sale museum.
Kind
Yeah.
of sort of actually. We've always kind of just wanted to go. We just never made the time to do it. We finally went and it just It's some random ass shit in there, but it was one of the coolest things that we've ever done. And when we tell people, how we spent our anniversary, like that actually sounds like a super rad idea. Because like, you don't always need to do the big celebration. You can just, kind of just, take time, get away from the children for a little bit and just be together. It doesn't matter what you do. So,
Absolutely. It's like
Love that.
I I don't really, celebrate my birthday. I don't even let anybody know when it is. But if I ever want to, try and do a celebration thing for anything, it's probably going to be, all right, we're going to celebrate this thing. And by that, I mean I'm going to sit in my fucking house and watch Lord of the Rings again. I'm going to wake up at 7:30 in the morning, and I'm going to get some coffee and I'm going to start Fellowship of the Ring at full fucking volume.
there you
And
go.
we're like, by saying you're all celebrating it with me, I mean you're all going to be aware that the TV is going to be at full volume early in the morning.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
you had to tell me your birthday to get the
Yep,
Kickstarter to pre-launch, but I forgot to write it down, so lucky you.
thank fuck. I am test tube baby who who just write a had to write a number down on a document and hand it to the doctor.
You just tell people that, one day there was no Josh, then one day there was a Josh. That's what happened. You just
Exactly.
you just manifested in full form, glorious beard blowing in the wind. Just that's what happened.
Exactly. It's like a dwarf just being birthed from the stone.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, guys. Well, I usually like to start the show off with an icebreaker question, even though we've kind of already done that already, but I have a special one for this show. So
Sweet.
today's icebreaker question is, would you rather have slow internet or always forget your passwords?
I have an easy answer to this question, which is
Okay.
that I prefer slow internet.
Okay.
Um, I I mean, we're all, I guess, of the age that we, had a significant part of our formative years without internet.
Mhm.
But my wife and I both grew up in the country, and to where we've both uh, largely learned to make do without internet. Even nowadays, my wife doesn't even have a smartphone.
Oh,
Um,
no.
but I have one, which means as long as I'm home, my wife has a smartphone. but
Fair enough.
uh, but uh, but uh, we we do most of our lives without really relying on the internet for much, pretty much just for uh, streaming, Netflix and stuff. Uh,
Sure.
but if I had to get into comic emails and stuff like that and couldn't remember how, I would be. Uh, I have ADHD, so I get enraged with myself anyway, constantly, and to know going into it that I'll be enraged with myself
Yeah,
would be upsetting.
that's fair.
Does this scenario also posit that none of my devices will save the password?
Nope, that's not part of it.
Okay.
They didn't specify.
Um, this happens to me. I'll go with the fast internet because this happens to me all the time anyway. For the most part, I'm logged into most of my stuff that the password is saved on all my devices, and then occasionally I'll find something like Zoom. I had to actually reset my password for Zoom today,
Okay,
so
nice.
um, around the time I forgot that there were time zones, I actually logged on at 6 o'clock my time.
Oh gosh.
Where's everybody? So, uh, but yeah, so I'll go with the faster internet just because I'm used to that kind of scenario already.
Nice.
I really love that we have a cyberpunk comic series that we're promoting, and the answer here is like, well, I could just go with the fast internet because I already rely on technology to remember all my passwords for me anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
This can't come back to bite us in a
right.
cyberpunk comic.
never. No.
Hackers don't listen. We don't pre-save anything anywhere.
It's all
Um,
right. I don't have to worry about it. Big government remembers all my passwords for me.
Google said, "Hey, don't worry, I'll take all your passwords. It's fine."
Exactly.
As much as I tease about it, I would also pick faster internet, I think too. I'm a gamer. Well, I pretend to be a gamer sometimes.
Hmm.
I've been trying to get better at being a gamer. And it's real hard to do if you've got slow internet. Also, I
Yeah.
mentioned before, I've got a teenage daughter who, and I also have a small daughter who both are on the internet all the time. And if internet was slow, it would be miserable for me. And I'm an IT guy during the day, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, internet's pretty important for me. Plus, they've got applications that exist that are their sole purpose is to remember your passwords and
Yeah.
beyond Google Chrome or whatever. So I would just get one of those. I'd store all my. I mean, I do that for my day job. I have a application that holds all my passwords, so I would just do that, and because I
So,
forget them anyway.
so as a gamer that requires the internet, so you're playing online stuff typically. What are you playing?
Oof. So,
That's always such a small question to ask a gamer,
well,
right?
Well, and here's the thing. I used to be really big into PC gaming, so I played Left 4 Dead a lot. We played
Hmm.
not Call of Duty. I was more of a Battlefield guy, so I played Battlefield
Yeah.
quite a bit. Um, and I played that till I blew the brakes off that machine, and it doesn't
Hmm.
work anymore. So there was quite a period of time where I didn't do as much gaming. It was mostly just Xbox. Um,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of friends that I can play with. There are a lot of different time zones in me, and so we don't
Hmm.
sync up the same time. And I also don't have a lot of online friends.
Yeah.
Gaming wise.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a problem for a while where I'd go to sit down to play a game, and I either couldn't decide what game I wanted to play, or I would guilt myself out of playing games because I could be doing productive stuff, you know, being the same age, we're all pretty close to the same age. That was kind of something that was ingrained, growing up was if you're sitting down taking time to relax, you could be being productive. So that's been
Yeah.
kind of like edged out of my brain. And my wonderful wife is trying to fix that for me to let me just sit down and because she encourages me quite frequently, play Xbox. Plus, I just recently finally upgraded to an Xbox One X for Christmas this
Nice.
year. So she's like, that was expensive, and if it just sits in my house, I'm gonna be really pissed at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it great
Amen
to
to
have
that.
a partner that encourages that kind of thing? My
It
fiance
is.
does that to me too. She's like, relax on your day off. You don't have to like, this grind culture has been just shoved
It's awful.
down our throats,
Yeah.
like especially as like or the earliest millennials. Like
Yep.
it's like if you're not productive, you're nothing. And
Exactly.
it's like you don't take if you and you're not encouraged to take any time for yourself for things that you enjoy and things like that. And it's just
Yeah.
it's great. And we're the two of us, like as a couple, are really kind of trying to unlearn a lot of these
Yeah.
bad habits that were instilled in us by our boomer parentage.
Yeah.
Not I mean maybe not specifically our direct parents, but like the culture that surrounded all that,
Yeah.
like that whole parenting um, era.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So
Like my wife
it's
and I, we're really good at trying to do that too. Like she'll be in the kitchen doing something and I'll be sitting on the couch after work and I'm like, oh my God, I have to get up and go help her because, you know, I never want the stigma on me where I'm not a supportive husband and I want to make sure I help her out, because there's no, because you're a team, you're not, one person, the other. So I go try to help her out. She's like, I don't need help. Go sit down and relax. And you're like, like I had mentioned before, I don't leave the house very much because I don't really have a lot of friends around here to go do stuff with. And she'll be like, you need to go out of the house and go do something. So if someone says, "Hey, come hang out," she's like, "Yeah, go hang out. Get out of the
Yeah.
house, go do something." But so yeah, it is nice having that support system, and unlearning the stigmas from our parents or our parents' parents because, my dad, RIP, I love my dad. Um, but he used to have this thing where on the weekends we would have to be up, dressed, breakfast eaten, ready for the day by like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. And he just thought that was neat to do.
Mhm.
And so that on the weekends now, if I sleep till like 6:30, I'm like, oh my God, I need to be awake and doing stuff. And if I'm not, I just feel awful. So that's kind of like the stigma we're talking about that my wife and I are trying to unlearn because it's rough. But anyway, the long roundabout way to answer your question, Josh, is I'm kind of getting back into gaming now. My latest gaming obsession has kind of been Fortnite, which has
Okay.
which is notoriously known as a kids game, but I would dare anybody who's 30, 40 plus to sit down and play that game for a little bit because it's kind of a lot of fun. If you go into it playing it in a serious mindset, it could be kind of annoying, but if you want to just go and just jump in and just have some fun, it's not a bad way to kill a couple hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I for me, like my nephew got me to try like I think I tried like two matches, and I think between the two matches together, I lasted about a minute and 15 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty
But
common.
but uh, for me, it's just like I was like professionally competitive a little bit, like locally in Smash Brothers
Oh,
back during
nice.
like back during like the Brawl days.
Nice.
But since then, I have not been a multiplayer gamer at all. Like I've dived hard into the Oblivion remaster that just came out,
Okay.
and uh and there's this little, I don't think it's necessarily indie because it's like by like a developer group, but it's definitely not like a AAA title called Valfaris.
Okay.
Um, that's kind of like a action platformer type thing that's got like a very fun like like sarcastically metal vibe to it. I'm really
Nice.
enjoying that.
Yeah, I do like a lot of the indie gamer stuff. Like I also do a lot of
Yeah.
the single player or solo that I can just go on and play myself.
Yeah.
Another one that I've been getting pretty big into that actually kind of fits the cyberpunk thing a little bit is a game called Cookie Cutter. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have it in my wish list right now
It's so
to pick up.
good. It's so
Yeah.
good. It's very, very fun. It's side scroller. There's a lot of really
Yeah.
cool like gory graphic stuff that comes on there, but it's a lot of fun.
Is that
Yeah.
just Xbox?
I don't think it's just Xbox.
Okay. I have a PS5 is why I asked.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and the only reason I haven't gotten it yet is because like anytime I'm like something goes on sale, I'll see, and like if any of like the like especially like the 16 and like 16 and 32 bit
Okay.
like the pixel stuff,
Yeah.
I huge platformer gamer, like Donkey Kong Country 2 is my all-time favorite game, but like any of the stuff that has that like NES and SNES
Yep.
retro vibe to it is gonna get priority for me. And Cookie Cutter looks beautiful, but it definitely has a more modern
Oh yeah.
aesthetic to it. So it's like
Yeah.
it's been a little on the back burner. But hearing from somebody that it's like it's fantastic, like
It's
I might
it's
have to
a
jump up
it's
and
very
see if I
violent and it's a lot of fun. So if you
hell
just
I
want to
yeah.
might
have
have
some
to
mindless violence, it's so good.
I might have to
Yeah.
download that one. I'm currently running at about 50% of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Nice.
Oh
And
man.
by 50%, I'm saying 70 hours.
Okay. That sounds
This
about
game,
right for a
this
person
game
our
is
age.
too
Yeah.
long. And also, like the reason I like Final Fantasy VII is because I have very bad reflexes. So having the turn-based battle
Fair.
system is great for me. Now I have to like,
Yeah.
oh no. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of like jumping between that, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge,
Ah,
Shredder's Revenge is
and
so fucking good.
so
uh,
good.
It's
So
so
the
good.
first Axiom Verge,
Yeah.
like the
I
Metroid.
got lost as fuck in Axiom
I
Verge.
probably can't go back to that game because I don't know where I am or what I'm supposed to do.
I
Uh,
was in the middle of playing it and still got to a point where it's like I have no clue where I'm going. And and finally after like 2 hours of trying to figure that out, I was just like, I'm spending so much time on walkthroughs that I'm just like, I'm just gonna like play a game where I can actually figure out where the hell I'm going.
Yeah. But yeah,
But
speaking
yeah.
speaking of your old school, favorites, Super Nintendo is one of my favorites too. Um, Legend of Zelda:
I
A
think
Link to the
SNES was the pinnacle of
Best.
gaming. It was the point at which like I think it's really really difficult to go back to an N64 game. Nowadays people have a hard time going back to like a fucking X1 Xbox 360 or
Yeah,
PS3 game. And
yeah,
it's like as soon as the next Call of Duty comes out, the last one is obsolete.
yeah.
And it's, like for me as someone who, grew up, you know, poor, it was always probably shouldn't be, but like it was always a defining uh, uh, factor of what I registered as quality was, can I, like, will I still enjoy this, you know, 5, 10 years from now?
Yeah.
And like how long is it going to be before I have to buy a different video game? Because
Yep.
like I'm really gonna I'm gonna have one game that I'm going to be I have one dead horse that I will be beating for years and years. And so like SNES, uh, well, they still weren't really trying to go realistic with so many things.
Yeah.
It wasn't getting obsolete so quickly because games were just like we know what our limitations are, and we are like, rather than trying to force things to look more real all the time, it's just like we're going to do like this little sprite that you can tell what it is, and we're just going to focus on like the gameplay itself
Yep.
being what it needs to be. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think for that, Legends of Zelda: Link to the Past, all-time favorite game. So,
Oh my God.
so good.
Might be a
Let
tie between that and Super Metroid.
Okay, yeah.
let
Super Metroid
That's
is just
fair.
so good.
That was so good. I agree.
Legend of Zelda games are like exactly uh my talking point of uh games that I should love, but I have ADHD, and so I need a journal system if I'm not being if I'm being given an open world.
That's
It's
fair.
like I've played Ocarina of Time up to the Forest Temple about 9 times, and up to the Water Temple like twice. And as soon as I put it down, like to pick up tomorrow, I will forget where I've gone and completely lose the game.
Man. Now, speaking of that old kind of old school, we were talking about, the TMNT game. Have you guys tried the new Power Rangers one?
Oh, I didn't know that was a
No,
one.
I am hearing really
Oh,
mixed
good.
things, but I feel like more recently, maybe they've done patches and stuff, but more recently I'm hearing more positive stuff.
It's a lot of fun, and being a big Power Rangers kid growing up, what I think is the most fun is at one, so you've got some time where you actually fight as one of the teenage kids. Then
Hmm.
you get to a point where whichever kid you pick, you end up in their Zord, and you are like running after this bad guy in their Zord, fighting as their Zord, which is kind of rad. And
Yeah.
then, and then they come together and you can fight inside of Megazord. It's
Fuck yeah.
so dope. And like you
Fuck
get to
yeah.
control the arms, you get a dash, and then right before you get the kill, the Megazord comes down. Bam! Ah, it's so good. So,
Hell yeah.
so good.
I'm so stoked. Will was the one who told me about Marvel Cosmic Invasion coming out,
Yeah,
and
that
I
It's
am
looks
the
a
same
lot of fun.
developers
so
as
stoked.
TMNT.
Yeah, and Streets of Rage 4, which like of all those retro beat 'em ups, Streets of Rage 4 is my favorite one because it's like the mechanics are kind of the most complex, and so it's like going back to it months or years later. It's the one that to me has the most replay value.
Yeah.
Plus
What's the
Cherry is just like rad as hell, being able to like beat the shit out of people with a
Yep.
Gibson.
what's funny is before we realized how cost prohibitive it was going to be, we kind of tossed around the idea of doing like a Streets of Rage style Southtown game
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because
yeah, we
Joshua knows a couple of developers or
I know someone who knows people, and he put
okay.
me in touch with some people, and there's still a little bit of talk, but I don't have high hopes for it because uh it's the kind of thing where uh even for a real small indie thing, you're talking in the tens of thousands of dollars. And it's like if we ever get to a point where like we're able to like raise that kind of funding, I would love nothing more than like than a Southtown Metroidvania that follows like the High Risers, one of the gangs that gets introduced a bit later in the story, or
Awesome.
because it's like it's cyberpunk that's like meant to be very retro futuristic, and so of course you've got to have like a parkour and extreme sports gang in there that has like fucking BMX bikes and skateboards and stuff.
That's awesome. That's so, so awesome.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like once we get the first 10 issues and the two trade paperbacks out, we might have a a shot at maybe raising enough money for a video game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
That's
like
exciting.
I've got a synthwave project with a friend of mine. Maybe we'll do the soundtrack and save save
There
it
you
some
go.
money.
There you go. All right, gentlemen. So I want to jump back in the Wayback Machine and kind of take us back on a journey to find out what inspired you guys originally to follow the line of work that you're in now. So, Will, I want to start with you. What was it that originally inspired you to become an artist in the first place?
Uh, Ninja Turtles, honestly.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm turning 45, so I was like 10 in 1990. And I've been drawing my whole life, like, crayon, like, give me a crayon, it'll keep me occupied. I was kind of a sick kid, so I didn't go outdoors a lot for a while,
Sure.
which eventually went away. I grew out of it and that kind of thing. But
Sure.
I spent a lot of time doing a lot of artwork, and it was very like encouraged in my schooling and upbringing and things like that. So the Ninja Turtles came out and became just every 10-year-old kid was just like, yeah, that's the thing. And that's
Yeah.
actually where I learned how kind of rudimentarily how to draw anatomy. Um,
Okay.
so just drawing Ninja Turtles on my notebooks
That's why all
in
the characters in Southtown have shells.
it's true. I never got out of that one. But in the small town where I grew up, we could ride our bikes to the little local grocery store, and they had a spinner rack of comic books, and my brother introduced me to it. He's like, I think you'd be interested in these things, and he showed me, like, buy the one with the lower number because that's the first issue, that kind of thing. And lo
Yeah.
and behold, I picked up X-Men #1, Jim Lee and Chris Claremont, the reboot from '91, and or the kind of like spin-off, I guess you should say, because they split the team into two. There's the gold and the blue team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started picking up as many comics as I could. I just couldn't get enough of it. It didn't matter what it was. And then I started to kind of pay attention to artists and styles and who was doing things like Todd McFarlane. Everybody split off from Marvel and created Image. And I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about the history of that because I was too young and there was no internet, so we didn't know any
Yeah.
of the story of what was going on. So I stuck with that for a good while and just kind of practiced drawing these X-Men and Savage Dragon, that's and stuff like that. And really was fascinated with it for a while. And then unfortunately, it got uncool to read comic books and I got picked on a lot. So I kind of stepped away from it for a little while, probably 2 or 3 years. I didn't come back to it until I started listening to punk and skateboarding and therein not giving a shit what anyone else said. So I just kind of, you know, grew out of that insecurity and came back to comic books in a way. So
Nice.
that led me to like through high school. The art got me. If it weren't for my art classes, I would not have graduated. They were nice enough to throw me some extra credits that got me around my ineptitude in math and science. And eventually, I went to an art school in Minneapolis for a year, but that was 1,000 miles away from my house, and I had a little too much freedom. So I ended up dropping out, but I stuck with the artwork and that kind of thing. And
Nice.
um, blah blah yada yada. Met up with just kept going, trying to keep my artwork, and then met up with Joshua through Ali, our original color artist, and we started work on this project.
Nice. All right, Joshua, what was your intro into writing? What inspired you to become a writer?
So when I was like 29 years old, I decided I needed to learn how to read. No, 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 uh, uh, no, actually, truth be told, I didn't write anything at all except music until 2017. Um, actually, probably 2019. Um,
Okay.
because like I started out in, punk bands and metal bands and I uh, I've got a bluegrass project. I've got a synthwave project. I've uh, did a bunch of stuff, and for most of those projects, I was the singer and songwriter. Um, and so I got very used to writing music, and especially when it came to uh, bluegrass and folk music, I got really, really attached to the storytelling of music. And the way, kind of the same way that J.R.R. Tolkien has said he does not like analogy, he does not like allegory. Sorry, he doesn't like
Mhm.
allegory. He prefers history with applicability. And I started getting a lot more into writing that style of folk music. You know, your murder ballads and your songs that are telling really specific singular stories with named characters and specific events that obviously you yourself haven't gone through as the listener, but you find connection in the human experience through those kinds of stories. Um, One that's more recent that comes to mind uh, is uh, uh, oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of the song. Another New World, maybe? No, no, Another New World is Gojira. No, um, uh, there's a Josh Ritter song about a that I'm so sorry I'm blanking on this
Okay.
the name of it, but it's uh a man in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, not specific, but who takes a ship to sail to find the edge of the world, to find what's on the other side. And it's like, it's such a specific story that none of us have been through,
Yeah.
but but you feel connection to his sense of exploration and his sense of curiosity and his sense of despair when the adventure takes dark turns. And through that way that songwriting can touch on a very can touch on the human condition through telling you stories. I just uh, I just really got attached to that, and then uh, I was working a corporate job at a bank, just doing a lot of data investigation and data processing, and I fucking hated it. And I was good at it, so I could like mostly sleep my way through the work. Um, and but as I was doing so and getting very burnt out at the job, I started, emailing friends just stupid ass stories about me and those friends being, hackers in a cyberpunk gang and what kind of dumbass adventures and heists and shit we would go on. And uh, eventually, those stories started getting much more complex and being more tied together, and the characters started building backstories, and the corporations that were in those stories started becoming deeper and, of course, more fucked up. Um, and it's the world that I was talking about became much more uh, reminiscent of the real world city with which I'm familiar, which is Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah.
Um, And eventually I had a friend who, like one of the friends that I was emailing with was like, hey, you should make this a story and stop fucking emailing me. But um and I was like, well, I do not have the attention span to write an actual novel and writing a novel is a kind of skill set that I absolutely don't have. Um uh And then she said, well, why don't you make it like a comic book? And I said, because I cannot draw. If you give me a ruler, I cannot give you a straight line. Um, uh, but she was like, you should keep it in mind. Eventually, I was at a concert in the city, and I ran into Allie. And I was with a friend who is infinitely more sociable than me, and so uh, she invited Allie to uh, join us for dinner after the show. Um, we were all talking. The comic was mentioned, and she was like, "Hey, I illustrate and I do colors and stuff." And she was like, "I want to help you make this happen." I was like, "Well, fuck, now people believe in me." And so my, you know, uh, gifted and talented programs guilt from being a child means that people believe in me, so I have to deliver them something, and I have to start creating this comic book. And so I started writing it. I started working with her as an illustrator originally. Um, her style her art style wasn't quite compatible with what I had in mind. Um, she has a style that is really, really well suited for specific kinds of stories, and uh, they aren't my kind of story. But she was like, "Well, I would still love to do, you know, color for you." Her colors are like, as you can see with the first two issues, her colors are absolutely phenomenal. It's
Yeah,
beautiful and it brings it to life. But she was like, "I know somebody that I'd like to introduce you to," and that's how I met Will.
very
So
cool.
the comic, it started as emails in 2017. That was the first time I was writing anything that wasn't music. And then it started actually getting translated into uh, a comic format um, in 2019.
Very cool. And while you were talking about it, since you mentioned you used to do a lot of metal music and you transitioned into comics, that reminded me of my friend John Westoff. He was a metal musician who's kind of transitioned to comics, who still plays.
Hmm.
One of his comics he does is called Drumsticks of Doom. It's when Black Sabbath, not the Beatles, became the world's most famous band, the universe was changed musically and otherwise. Lost arts like alchemy were made common, schools taught about transfiguration and alternate sciences, demons were summoned, and some stuck around.
Fuck yeah. That sounds
It's
dope as hell.
it's incredible. It's so so good. So
That's
I'm gonna
awesome.
have to get you guys connected somehow so you can check it out.
So it's called
It's so
Drumsticks.
good. Drumsticks of Doom.
Drumsticks of Doom.
Drumsticks of Doom.
He just
I
dropped his first trade, which has a pull quote from me. Um, he could pick one pull quote and he pulled it from me. It felt kind of special. Um,
nice.
but it's very good. I think he just started his next arc recently. Um, but yeah, it's very good. You guys should definitely check it out. It's so good.
Nice.
So
Hell yeah.
shout out to John. Um,
Hell
he's
yeah.
he's actually going to be one of the first people on this show for 3 times. So that's pretty cool. That's a spoiler right
Nice.
there.
Nice. Hell yeah. Shout out John.
Heck yeah, man. Okay, so we've talked about it quite a bit, so I think it's time that we dive a little bit deeper into it. So, for those that don't know about your guys' book, Southtown, why don't we talk a little bit what it's about?
Sure. Yeah. So Southtown, uh, it's a cyberpunk comic series that is set in the year 2072 um, in Richmond, Virginia, which by the time of the comic has uh, evolved into a mega city, which we call River City. Um, uh, which for anyone outside of the Central Virginia area, River City is one of Richmond's more commonly used nicknames now. But it expands for anyone who's familiar with the area pretty much everywhere from Goochland over to like Mechanicsville, east to west, and north to south from like Doswell down to like Hopewell and Colonial Heights. Um, and so it's become this massive mega city. Um, Economy is largely held up by medical corporations, and that includes the now privatized Virginia Commonwealth University as the premier hospital and medical service center uh, in River City, but also uh, not just pharmaceutical and like medical service providers, but also uh, like biomechanical and cybernetic developers or anything that is going to involve cybernetic implantation or biomodification is all going to kind of fall under that medical umbrella that is largely supporting River City's economy. Um, One of those premier cybernetic developers is a company called Neurodyne, and the first story arc of Southtown follows a gang from the wrong side of the river, an area called Southtown, representing basically modern Southside Richmond, as far as the actual city of Richmond, not like the surrounding counties of like Chesterfield and such. But uh, um, that area is, largely corporation free, like law enforcement presence free, um, and it is the part of the city that your parents warn you about. And this first 10 issue story arc follows a gang from that part of town who uh, pulls a data heist, stealing some proprietary information from Neurodyne. There's a lot of mystery surrounding the heist, that, you know, once the heist goes sideways, there suddenly arise a lot of questions that need to be answered. Um, and there are corporate assassins. Uh, there are organized like crime syndicates and gangs, rival gangs that are trying to get in on the action. And there is a girl from uh, from the nicer part of the city, sort of what modern day would be like the fan, who uh, ends up getting caught up in all of it, thinking that the idea of the Southtown life sounds exciting, um, and getting up into it, and as so often happens in so many stories, realizing it's a bit more than she bargained for.
That's that sounds awesome.
Just
I'm
in
not
case,
I'm I'm not a brief person when I
That's
speak.
okay.
Sorry.
That's
and
okay.
just to clarify for anyone who's not familiar with the Richmond area, the area called the Fan is sort of like is what is that like VCU area?
It's
Town.
pretty much
It's a
between.
it's
Yeah,
like a hipstery area.
it's the hipster area. It is where like it is pretty much all still like Victorian architecture.
Wow.
Um and so it's the places where you can't afford to live there even though the windows don't work. So
Wow.
They're painted shut. It's fine.
yeah, and they are like I used to install windows for a living, and like windows are not made in those dimensions anymore. Like if you
Yeah.
want anything to work, you have to get like custom shit because it's all like half the outlets in your house don't work, but you're still paying $2,000 a month to live there.
Wow.
So it's wild.
That is wild. So, you had mentioned that, a lot of the story idea came from, just stories back and forth.
Hmm.
Where did you pull some of the inspiration about turning it into cyberpunk? Did you have any like anything that we can compare it to for people who, are kind of not really sure what cyberpunk is? Is there anything that we can kind of compare this to just so people can kind of get familiar with it?
At
Absolutely.
the last convention we were at, Joshua just kind of like plopped out this descriptor. He's like, "It's Blade Runner meets The Wire," and
Okay.
we were like,
Okay.
"Let's run with that."
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's probably important to clarify that when we compare it to The Wire, uh, uh, as uh, as a couple, straight white men, we are not necessarily like we recognize that we are not necessarily equipped to really tackle some of the race politics that
Sure.
get addressed by The Wire. And so I don't really try to. Um, I try to represent uh, a very diverse um, group with the comic, and I try to normalize the prevalence of a very uh, uh, diverse population, um, in whatever ways I can. Uh, but I do not try to like really tackle the race politics because I don't think I'm necessarily qualified to. But
Sure.
uh, but uh, but yeah, it's cyberpunk is very much at its heart. It's the idea of like uh, a dystopian science fiction based future where uh, where capitalism. Some cyberpunk has uh, chosen to go less of the capitalism route and more of the government oversight route. I've chosen to go the capitalism route largely because I personally am more able to have fun writing that because getting involved in more of the government oversight based stuff, I'm just going to become an angrier person. And so I wanted to have fun with it, and I have more fun killing CEOs and representing sleazy businessmen than I do representing a version of our nation's leaders that realistically I probably can't do people as fucked up as real world leaders. So
Fair
I
enough.
don't have the creativity to represent people more vile than real life. Um,
Fair enough.
but so it's the version of capital of cyberpunk that I've gone to do represents more over the idea of extremely late stage, uh, irredeemable capitalism that where corporations mostly have control over everything. There is extreme economic disparity, um, and there is an idea uh, put forth by the people in power and the people selling you things that technology will fix your life, while the reality being represented is that it absolutely will not. It is high tech meets low life. It is uh, people who nowadays are, are trapped in cycles of addiction to, fentanyl or heroin or whatever, are in here being uh, trapped and addicted to uh, cybernetics that allow them to relive certain parts of their memory, or synthetic fentanyl, or um, uh, you know, uh, it is representing the idea that when we have better technology, we will simply find more creative ways to get further and deeper into the holes that modern society is already digging itself into. But Cyberpunk tries to do that in a fun and high style way. With the tabletop game that originally birthed, like for example, the Cyberpunk 2077 video game, the original tabletop game just called Cyberpunk, or the version that I've played, Cyberpunk 2020. Um, uh, Mike Pondsmith, the creator, he has a phrase in there. It's style over substance, and it is all like you've got to be cool. You've got to do the badass thing, and it's we try to represent that. And I've always loved how cyberpunk as a genre kind of uses that idea of aesthetic to sell this idea of rampant and corrupt late stage capitalism, because its viewers are largely, you know, uh, even though they know they're being told directly, this is bad. We are looking at a bad version of our future, and people are still watching and see, yeah, but cool neon colors and robot arms and laser dicks and whatever. And I want that. You shouldn't. We're directly telling you with our words to your face that you shouldn't want these things,
Right.
but you still do. And that's the power of advertising that allows these late stage capitalist corporations to sell you things and put you further into a hole that separates you further from the social and economic elite.
Fair enough.
So it's like, as far as reference points, because I'm remembering now that there are multiple points of your question that I haven't remotely touched on.
You're good.
Oh, uh, Blade Runner is absolutely the top reference point visually, and it's kind of a cultural touchstone for the cyberpunk genre. Um, Blade Runner 2049, of course, if that needs to be clarified. The Matrix is cyberpunk, but doesn't really touch on many of the same themes or aesthetics. Aesthetically, you can also look to a lot of old John Carpenter stuff. Uh, Escape from New York is a fantastic example of it. Um, if you're more of a reader, uh, the Sprawl trilogy by William Gibson, Neuromancer and Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive are my favorite examples, and probably the examples I pull from most predominantly, because the storytelling in there is so deeply nihilistic and so like it tells such a amazing uh, story without really presenting this idea of good guys and bad guys that like I just fell in love with it. So like reading wise, definitely, Neuromancer, Count Zero, Mona Lisa's Overdrive. Um, as far as if you're trying to watch a movie, uh, Upgrade was actually a really, really, really good one. But Blade Runner is going to be my top recommendation for getting the aesthetic. Aesthetically, also Altered Carbon.
Okay.
And Altered Carbon definitely touches on some cyberpunk stuff, but then it also goes a lot of different directions that are some of them are connected to the genre. But it's, aesthetically, you're capturing that for sure.
Perfect. A couple of my favorite like B grade kind of like cyberpunk things. There was a movie called Death Machine.
Okay.
It came out in it came out like 90, 92 maybe, but it was the guy who directed the first Blade, I think. Steven Summers, but that one's a lot of fun. It's got Brad Dourif in it. Rachel Weisz is in it for 2 seconds, literally. Um, and then there's another one called Hardware, which was directed by the guy who did Color Out of Space, that Lovecraft one
Okay.
with Nick
Yeah, yeah.
Cage, and directed most of the Island of Dr. Moreau. Those are a lot of fun in like a kind of like B grade 90s kind of thing. But there's also a cyberpunk comic series out there called Empty Zone, which is
Yes. Yeah.
fantastic.
It's incredible. It's unbelievable. It's so good. Tokyo Ghost is really good too. Tokyo Ghost is fantastic.
Very cool.
I also really love one thing I really love about Tokyo Ghost that I think more fans of the cyberpunk genre need to read it for is like there's an element of it that like cyberpunk in general is an extremely nihilistic genre. Um, uh, Most of the time, you victory in the cyberpunk genre is achieved by just surviving to see another day. Um, but uh, but Tokyo Ghost has a certain optimistic quality with the story that represents what I think should be a more commonly addressed point of cyberpunk, because it is very much like any dystopian uh, media. It is a warning. It is a critique of the present, not a prediction of the future, and it is a warning, not a promise, because you shouldn't be looking forward to it. And so Tokyo Ghost, it represents this idea of an alternative to that uh, that late stage capitalism, extremely corrupt and tech driven world, that uh, is very in tune with me personally. Like I feel like for to a great extent, everyone who is a huge fan of the cyberpunk genre almost should be trying to be a Luddite. Um,
Sure.
because it's like, how can you like? It's like there's an extent to which I very, very heavily support a an independence from technology. Not that we can't use it, but that I never tend to trust a reliance on it. Um, but yeah, it's I highly recommend Tokyo Ghost for that reason.
Very cool. All right, so we're here to talk about the Kickstarter for issue 3 of your guys' book. Will, why don't you tell us? You guys are in pre-launch right now, and we'll
Mhm.
definitely make sure we get the link shared out so we can get more people following, more
Definitely.
people, hopping on the train. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you guys will have? What can you talk about the Kickstarter that's coming up?
So we will have, so we're just shy of 30 followers on the pre-launch so far. I think once we get to 30, we're gonna throw in that's gonna be our first kind of like pre-stretch goal. So I think we're gonna include a like a mini kind of sketchbook ash can with
Mhm.
some like concept sketches, tech, maps, things like that. Um, like thumbnail sketches of like pages from the issue, things like that. We do have three different covers ready to go for the campaign. I'm just going to pull it up here in one of my other windows just for reference here.
That's what I'm doing real quick too.
Yeah. So the reward tiers. So the title of the issue is The Seventh Circle, which is a nightclub that is visited in the issue. So we decided to name all of the reward tiers after circles of hell, according to Dante's Inferno.
Nice.
So we've got Purgatory, which is going to be the digital edition that will be included. That's the very first tier with a reward, and that digital will be included on every backer. And then we've got the first circle limbo is going to be the main line cover. That's the one we'll have plenty of copies of. We'll be taking that to conventions and comic shops locally and available on our website. We got the second circle, which is lust, and we do have a not safe for work cover.
Very
There's a bunch of boobies on it. So that's the second one. Second cover. Third circle is gluttony. That's going to be a in the style of Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man #1.
Okay.
So it's gonna have that classic Spider-Man pose with our hacker character who goes by the name of Doss
Mhm.
on the main cover. Got a tier that's going to include all three mainline covers. We've got a sketch cover option because we have some sketch covers on the way. So I'll do like a custom drawing of whether the backer wants to have themselves represented as a cyberpunk denizen of Southtown or any character of their choice. So that'll be like a custom commissioned sketch cover option along with the mainline cover. Um, let's see what we got here. We're going to be probably doing some live event kind of situations, like you can come in, do a Q&A with Joshua and I while I'm working on some artwork. Any questions to answers to questions and that kind of thing. The live event. We've got a signed script, a signed original art page. I do everything in pencil by hand. I do ink digitally, so it's going to be like a full penciled page from the comic available. And then with the last two campaigns, we do have an option to get yourself drawn into the issue.
Nice.
So, and I think we've got some add-ons. We have some posters and t-shirt, and we're gonna have a t-shirt that's going to be available as an add-on.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
and the T-shirt for this particular campaign is going to be kind of cool because we want to have something that sort of will represent on the T-shirt that like you as a backer helped make this comic book happen.
That's
So
cool. Very cool. All right, well, make sure we'll put it on social media. Everybody who's listening, make sure you go check out the link. I just did here a minute ago because I didn't get signed up yet. So I am now officially signed up to be notified. So we're at 28 backers now. You guys need two more
Hell
to get
yeah,
there, and we'll
hell
get
yeah.
you there. Don't worry, we'll
yeah.
get you there.
And just to reiterate that that little sketch zine that we're going to have is going to be added on automatically to everybody's uh incentive, like no matter which tier, like if we can get those 30 followers, everyone gets that little add-on free.
Nice.
So
All physical tiers.
right.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
We could ship it out to everybody, but
yeah.
um, yeah. So we just want to we want to throw that in. We'll have other stretch goals as well.
Hmm.
If progress makes it far enough, we may be able to throw together an ash can of the preview of issue 4 if I can get the artwork done for that in time.
Nice.
Um, but
Yeah. And if we can get 500 followers, then I will come to your house and just explain the entire story arc of the Silmarillion.
Oh man, that's incentive enough, man. All right, so
I'm reading it again right now, and it's just God, Tolkien is the greatest storyteller who ever lived.
I used to be super heavy into reading novels, but I read like 200 in a year once, and I thought like I'm not doing anything other than reading, so I need to kind of step back a little bit. And so I finally started getting back into it because I stepped back way too far and just stopped reading novels. But
Yeah.
I just finally started getting back in and just read the first two books in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Have you read that yet?
No,
Have you seen Ready Player One?
I have. Uh, I'm
Or
gonna
I guess
sound like an
read
asshole,
Ready.
but the book is like
The book is
much
way
better.
better. I was actually
Yeah.
just going to ask if you've read the book. Well,
The books. Ready Player Two was
awful. It was
still better than the movie. It's
better
still
than the movie, yes.
yeah, it's still better than the movie, but like almost like most every choice that they used to kick off the story was a bad choice.
I agree. And it
But
felt like one of those books that didn't need a sequel, but it never was intended to have one, but it was kind of forced in there.
if you want to read a sequel to Ready Player One, read Armada by
Motto was very, very good.
Armada. It's just like if you want more Ernest Cline, just read Armada. Like
Or
that
for more
that's
fun, read the audiobook version because Will Wheaton narrates them both, and
yeah,
it's incredible. But
it's so good.
what I was gonna say was Dungeon Crawler Carl is very similar to Ready Player One in my opinion, except it's D&D heavy. So
Okay.
basically what happens is Carl goes outside to get his girlfriend's cat, who never goes outside but ended up going outside at like 2 a.m. And he's like in his boxers and his Crocs and a jacket. And then all of a sudden, like everything with a roof just gets flattened, completely flattened. So it's just dark. Everything's gone. Everybody who was inside a building or anything with a roof is just dead now. And what happened is you find out this alien race had made a deal with Earth, and they had so many years to fulfill their end of the deal, and Earth didn't. So basically, they came to collect, and they basically killed everything on Earth and used the resources of everything that they had just smushed and use it to make a dungeon. And anybody who survived, or basically anybody that was outside at the time, had the option to go into this dungeon and play the game. And so basically, he goes inside this dungeon, and now it's you progress on each level. Your goal is to try to get as many levels as you can get to. So it's like real life D&D. You turn into a D&D character where you can earn attributes to increase all of your charisma, your strength, your constitution, all of that stuff. You find magic spells, you find artifacts, you find items, and basically you just work your way through real life D&D. And
Nice.
it's since I read Ready Player One and Armada, it's one of the most funny, incredible books I've ever read in my entire life. Matt Dinniman is the
Nice.
author. It's such a fun series. It's definitely I burned through the first two books pretty quickly. They get progressively bigger as the series goes on, but I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier. But speaking of D&D earlier, an incredible book. It's so good.
Nice.
It's so good. So you guys should definitely check it out for sure.
Nice.
Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yeah, that's the name of the very first book. And obviously the main character's name is Carl.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
his girlfriend's cat survives with him. Her name is Princess Donut. Um,
Of course.
it's a much longer name, but that's the short version of it. And there's some fun things that happen with Princess Donut that I'm not going to spoil because it's pretty fun. But Yeah, definitely check that book out. When you're ready to get to your next book, that's the one it should be.
Hell yeah, hell
For
yeah.
sure.
I'm only on like chapter 9 currently of the Silmarillion, so and I don't read super fast. So, but but Dungeon Crawler Carl, I'm definitely gonna look out for that
It's so good.
Oh, cool,
Um,
cool, cool.
so I just wanted to say, you guys are spending the rest of the summer finishing up issue 3. Um,
one.
what do you guys have planned after this Kickstarter?
We've got
Um,
cons. I almost
we
forgot that another thing we got going on this summer is June 28th. We're going to be at Tidewater Con in Eastern Virginia. Um, and so we're going to be there. Um, and in November, we're looking at possibly doing Twin Tiers Con in in uh, New
so
York.
Western New York, like New York
Yes.
State,
Yeah.
Very cool.
is my hometown.
Very cool. All right,
Yeah.
guys. So
Yeah.
before I let you go, I want to give you guys each a chance to share some uh, creative advice for the other listeners out here who are looking for some advice. It can really be about anything, about Kickstarter, about writing, about art, just about creating in general. What is some advice you guys want to share with the podcast world?
I would say if you have any inspiration to create at all, just listen to yourself and like follow your heart and your dreams, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Because what do they know?
There you go. That's good.
Absolutely. I would say um, when you have something that you want to create, especially if it's going to be something that's going to take any time for you to create, whether it's like a novel or an album or anything like that, um, I I will say learn uh, discipline to complement your passion because you aren't always going to feel passion to create. You aren't always going to feel that inspiration in the moment to create things. And when you can learn to continue working towards what you want to put out there in the world, even when the feeling isn't there right in the moment, it makes it easier to overcome writer's block. It makes it easier to execute on your ambitions and even if what you create when you aren't feeling inspired in the moment isn't of the same quality level of what you would create while you're feeling that inspiration. I can't remember who it was that said it, but I really like this quote that said, "You can always edit a bad page. You can never edit a blank one."
Sure.
So, so put it out there and like get her done.
There you go.
Basically,
There you go.
because I'm a hillbilly. But
There you go.
but yeah, I would say do it. And when you want to make it happen, but you aren't feeling it in the moment, do it. If you have to go back and fix what you did, that is so much easier and so much easier to get started on than just not having anything to fix in the first place.
Very cool. All right, guys, where can we find out, keep up to date with stuff coming from you guys? Where can we find you online?
So we've got the website southtowncomic.com. We've got Southtown_comic on Instagram and Threads. And also you can find it on Facebook as well. So we're keeping everything up to date there. I've got my own website, Will Smith Illustration. That's Will with one L, willsmithillustration.net. That's where you'll find my portfolio and things like that.
Yeah. Um, I uh, I don't have a website for myself as a writer. I've got a little bit of social media presence for some of my music. You can find Turbo Falcon Synthwave on on Instagram, and you can find Joshua Eadie and the Commonwealth. Commonwealth is two words on on uh, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Uh, but other than that, yeah, just southtowncomic.com. We've got a mailing list on the website, so that's a really easy way to keep track of it. Also, look out for Southtown issue 3, the Seventh Circle on Kickstarter. It is in pre-launch now.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll make sure, it's coming soon, so make sure you follow it if you want to keep up to date with these guys because it's going to be a great book. Real quick, I want to thank Polygon Horizon. Their song Pizza Force is the song I used for the show. It's a great song and they're a great band. Go check them out on Bandcamp. You can find Fueled by Weird on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and shoot me an email at fueledbyweird@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. And Fueled by Weird, along with the Nerdy Manroom Show with Hassel and Monster, Hassel's Review, and Big Rob's House of Entertainment, and No Chinese Food. We all make up the Stay Weird Network. It's a brand new podcast network dedicated to bringing some awesome back to the internet. Check us out at Stay Weird Network on YouTube and Instagram, and you can email us at stayweirdnetwork@gmail.com. Lastly, I'd like to thank the Zone Collectibles in Tifton, Georgia. They're your one-stop shop for comics, collectibles, and so much more. And they sponsor the show. They're great. They're a great family. If you like the show, please leave a review and tell your friends because word of mouth is my friend. And remember, kids, life's too short to be normal, so stay weird. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much.
much
Really
for having
appreciate it.
us, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.